We're just waiting for everyone to enter into the meeting for another minute or so. Okay, welcome everyone to the SFA orientation meeting for our upcoming annual meeting. I'm Michael Paoliso, I'm the president-elect and been leading the meeting working group who has been working on the meeting. We're expecting 184 people tonight have registered for it. And right now, looking at the participants, we have 132. So I think people will be rolling in as we go forward. So we've got I think, a very exciting and useful agenda tonight and topics. So why don't we go ahead and begin? How I'd like to begin is to have members of the meeting working group who are online with us tonight just briefly introduce themselves, and then we'll get going. So I'll use my screen to ask people to introduce themselves. Melissa Cope.
Hey everyone, I'm Melissa Cope. I work in the SFAI office and I do a lot of annual meeting work.
Okay, thank you. Trish Colvin.
Hi, I'm Trish Colvin. I'm the office manager for the Society for Applied Anthropology.
Thank you. Jeremy Trombley.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeremy Trombley. I'm a postdoc at the University of Oregon, member of the working group, and I'm going to be helping with some Q&A moderation later on in the session.
Thank you. Rebecca Eli.
Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Eli Long, and I'm a member of the meeting working group helping organize these webinars for everyone.
Thank you. Janelle Marshall. Looks like she's frozen. Don?
Don Stahl, I'm the SFA Annual Meeting and Awards Coordinator.
Okay. Kira Bowman?
Hi, I'm Kira. I'm a recently graduated master's student from Purdue, currently transitioning into a career in practice, and I've been working with the meeting working group, particularly working with the Hoover event platform to make sure we have a smooth meeting, as well as helping prepare some of these trainings. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Janelle Marshall, let's try you again.
Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. Zoom meeting problems. I am Janelle. I am a PhD student at Purdue University. I look at archaeology and community engagement in Africa. And I'm helping with the meeting working group with Kira and Rebecca Eli to make sure everything runs as smoothly as possible along with everyone else in this meeting working group.
Okay, great. And last but not least, Sherry Briller, our president.
Oh my, hi everybody, I'm Sherry Briller. I know a lot of people here. I'm the current outgoing president of the SFAA, and I can't say enough good things about the meeting work group and all the stuff they've done to get ready for the first virtual annual meeting. So with no further ado, we'll hear what you have to say.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm just going to give a brief introduction. I tell a little bit about the meeting's format tonight, and then I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca, Eli, and Kira, who will walk us through a discussion of some of the programs, some of the session types, Hoover, future training, webinars that we have scheduled, etc. So a couple other particulars, as you probably noticed when you logged in, or maybe that we're recording this session and we will post it to the SFAA website. I believe closed captioning is available through Otter AI. It's been a little discussion in the chat about getting it set up. Melissa or anyone, is that functioning? Or?
It is not at the moment, and it's supposed to be automatic. I'm trying to check on it.
Okay, we'll keep working on that. Finally, when we get question and answer, Jeremy will be our moderator, and he'll be reading the questions, and one of the meeting working group members will answer. He won't be reading out comments, so if you see comments in there you like, you might want to copy and save those. Okay, so a very quick meeting overview. Our Norfolk 2021 meeting is very much an experiment and a collaboration with our members. We've done a survey, we've been in close communication with the executive committee and the board, and with other members have given us feedback. So as we've worked toward planning the meeting, designing it, and planning the implementation, all along our thinking has been that this is a partnership with our members. And as we get closer to the meeting and as we're in the meeting, we hope that everyone sees this as a collaborative effort, a partnership. It's an experiment. It's the first time SFA is doing an online meeting, and we'll need your input and feedback and support during that time. We think we're poised to have a good meeting. We have a robust program. There are currently over 1,000 registrants, 1,040 as of yesterday. We have close to 600 papers and around 200 sessions, both live and pre-recorded. We've got a full meeting schedule, 6 days, 5 time slots, distinguished lectures and award ceremonies, opportunities for networking, and a nice balance of mixed of live and pre-recorded sessions. One thing that sticks in my mind is that I keep saying this to my colleagues here, and others have said it to me, on-site meetings just don't upload online. There's just a lot of changes that have to be made, both in organization, content, the technology, and it's just a very different paradigm, and it opens up lots of opportunities, but it does create a lot of additional tasks, all of which have been new to us. We do feel we have a good design for the meeting. The program, I think, supports that. The robustness of the program in terms of 6 full days of sessions, et cetera, and 2 days of workshop. And we have a good implementation plan that you're going to hear about. And tonight's meeting is the kickoff of a series of training events and support events. That's not to say that we won't have any snafus or a few hiccups here and there. We're just hoping that any hiccups and snafus are not systemic, that they occur sort of randomly a bit and for particular reasons. So we have a very good meeting. One of what will make it a successful meeting is the ability of our members to participate fully in the meeting and enjoy the content, enjoy the experience of having an online meeting. And we're hopeful that the training and support we'll be providing will enable you to do that. So I won't say anything more about the meeting in general. There'll be lots of questions after Rebecca, Eli, and Kira make their presentations, we'll have plenty of time for question and answer. So without any delay, I'm going to ask Rebecca, Eli to begin to talk about the sessions.
Great, thanks, Michael. So, hi everyone again. I'm Rebecca Eli Long. I use they, them pronouns, and as a visual description, I'm a light-skinned white person with short, dark brown hair, dark-rimmed glasses. I'm wearing a super cozy knitted blue coat, and I'm sitting in my bedroom / home office now, thanks to COVID. And there's a couple of abstract pen and ink drawings that are vaguely spiral-like tacked up on the wall behind me. So a few housekeeping things before we get started. You're welcome to drop questions in the Q&A as we go along, and I see that some of you already are, and that's great. If there are questions that can be answered quickly in the moment as Kira and I are going along, we will try to get to them. Otherwise, we are saving plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So if I see a question come through and don't answer it right away, it's not that I'm ignoring you. It's that I know we need either a little more time to answer or someone else in the meeting working group is going to be better suited to address it. So here's how this evening is going to work. I'm going to talk a bit about our training plan and give an overview of what the different session types are going to look like. And then I'm going to pass it over to Kira, and she's going to walk you through what these sessions will actually look like in Hoover. So sort of what you can expect when you're moving through the presenter area and setting up your presentation, and what you could expect to see if you're viewing someone else's presentation. And we're hoping that this will create some sort of base for you to start thinking about what your content will look like and plan your participation in the conference. So tonight, as you have gathered already, or whatever time it is, wherever you are, afternoon, morning, this is the first session of our workshop series, and you're going to be receiving information soon with basically, I'm going to share my screen now with a calendar. And so you're going to get all of this in an email in an easy to read format. But so basically, to summarize what's on the screen now, you're seeing that we're planning a pre-recorded presentation session next for the first week in February. And this will be followed later in the month with a training for live stream participants. And then we're doing a session just for moderators, and then some sort of as needed sessions for Hoover onboarding. And all of these sessions are going to be recorded. So if you can't watch live, or if you just need to go back to the recording and refresh your memory, that's going to be available. And the content between the two sessions at the Monday time and the Thursday time is going to be pretty much identical, give or take a sentence here or there, but they will all have time for live Q&A. So even if you just want to pop in for some Q&A because you came to the first one and you've had a question since then, you can do that. You can come to both of them if you want that support. And we're also going to be trying to offer some one-on-one office hours where you can book a time slot and ask a question kind of quickly and get some more hands-on follow-up. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and talk a little bit about some of the different session types. So firstly, we have our pre-recorded content. And throughout the conference, we have both organized pre-recorded sessions and sessions that have been formed out of individual paper submissions. For these sessions of individual papers, we're asking the program chair to help collect these different videos. So if you're submitting a collection of individual papers, it's probably going to make the most sense for each presenter to record individually and then send them to the program chair. And then we can take it from there with editing it all into one video. If it's a roundtable session or something with crosstalk between the panelists, then it's going to make the most sense, most likely, for the session chair to set a time and then have everyone come on, perhaps through Zoom. Zoom would be a great way to do this, to set up your own Zoom meeting and record from there and then get us the video. So for these sessions of individual papers, we're asking everyone to try to submit this content to us by the end of February. And closer to time, you will receive a link with information on how to submit and how to get that to us. And we're going to take it from there and kind of make sure that everything's running smoothly and that it gets uploaded into Hoover correctly. And because this is the most pressing deadline, we're going to be covering kind of all of the technical informations topically. I'm seeing a question about the best format to save a recording in. That's going to be an MP4. So you're kind of a basic video file. And yeah, we're going to be presenting both this information in our webinars the first week of February, as well as putting together a guide you can refer to with some tips on how to do this through Zoom or through PowerPoint. And if you have another software you love that works well for you, you can do that. And people who are presenting posters are also welcome to attend this pre-recorded training. For poster presenters, you'll be able to upload an image of your poster as well as a short video of you talking through your content. So this would be like, let me, take 3 to 5 minutes and discuss my content in a little more detail. And so after we wrap up the pre-recorded training, and again, we're trying to get this done early to give people enough time to prepare, because this is sort of a shift in the timeline. You cannot wait until the last minute because we need to make sure everything is going smoothly and we have enough time to get everything uploaded. But so that's why we're putting the pre-recorded stuff up front. And then the other big category of presentations we have are people who are presenting live. And these are going to be mostly organized sessions and roundtable. And at most points in the conference, we'll have 5 channels, and that's what they'll be called in Hoover, channels of live presentations that will be happening concurrently. So you could think of these as like conference rooms or meeting spaces or kind of whatever spatial metaphor works for you, or channels on your TV. And these will all be recorded, and we're going to upload them back into Hoover as soon as possible. So if someone misses a session or if 2 sessions are scheduled at the same time, people can go back and rewatch. And each of these live stream sessions are assigned a meetup space afterwards. Session chairs can be flexible on how they want to use this space. We're recommending that it be used more for informal hangout and discussion. And we'd love to be able to have as much of the session and more formal structured Q&A on the recording so that people who want to watch this content later will be able to do that. And I'm seeing a question about switching over from one session to the next. And there is a little bit of flex time in between each channel session. And because the meetup is happening in a separate space, that's going to be done separately so that the Zoom webinar can then resume with the following session. So there's a little bit of time there. And so this is all kind of a really different way of approaching content sharing for a conference, and we're trying to be as transparent as possible about how we're handling the materials. So our plan is that your presentation will be stored in Hoover for 90 days, which is the time everyone's going to have to review the content after the meeting, to rewatch any sessions, to participate in any typed Q&A. And then that's all going to go away, and we'll be removing it from SFAA storage. And basically what this is doing is this is making sure you have copyright and ownership, and you know where your materials are. You know we're not hiding them on a server somewhere, that it's not going to somehow end up on someplace you're not expecting it, 2 months later or something. We're trying to make sure you're in control of where your presentation goes. The way Hoover is set up, all of the presentations are stored with them, and it's not going to let anyone else download your content, but you can provide some supplemental files. For instance, you could provide a handout, you could provide a copy of your slides for people to click through on their own computer, or if you have, like, say, a really complicated table that's part of your presentation, and it's not going to be very easy to view in a video, you can upload that separately. And so then people would be able to download that material, and you're welcome to put a copyright notice, to put a watermark on any images, or say, as a heading, please don't circulate this without the permission or outside of the context of the SFAA meeting. So if you're able to provide things like slides, things like handouts, these are great. And so I'm checking a few things, and I think I'm going to, so if authors want to include contact information, and you'll have your contact information in the program so that you can, if someone wants to get in touch with the author and see if there's a way to collaborate or to use those materials outside of the conference, you can reach out, but we are asking people to be respectful of everyone's intellectual property here. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Kira, and she's going to walk you through the conference program and what this is actually going to look like in Hoover, so you can try to visualize some of this.
Thanks, Rebecca. So hi, everyone. Again, I'm Kira. As a visual description, I am a young white woman. My pronouns are she and her. I have blonde hair, and this is my first attempt at using a virtual background, which, as you can see, is not going well. I'm going to be screen sharing, so I hope it's not too much of a distraction. So today I'm going to walk you through basically a slot on the program and what that's going to look like in Hoover. So we're going to take a look at poster sessions, pre-recorded sessions, and live sessions. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and share my screen. And if everyone can see it, this is the Hoover platform that we are using for our event. And so I'm going to briefly walk you through some of the main features. I'm not going to touch on everything, as we're going to be doing some more specific attendee training as we get closer to the meeting. So I'm really just going to focus on the agenda area as well as the community area, and touch on a few more things related to those spaces. So for the purposes of our meeting today, I'm going to walk us through the Monday 10 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. slot. So the preliminary program, as many of you have probably seen, is on the SFAA website. And I wanted to give you a look at what it's going to look like within Hoover. So I'm going to toggle back and forth. I'll try to be slow about it. Don't want to give anyone dizziness or anything. So the Hoover main page, this will be your welcome landing page in Hoover when you create your account, both for speakers and for participants as well, attendees. On the main page, we're going to have some general information, welcome to the meeting. We'll also have points of contact for day of issues regarding Zoom, as well as Hoover. Any questions that might arise, we're going to have some day of contacts for you to be in touch with. The agenda area is going to be the main area that people will be in for the duration of the meeting. And to give you a brief overview, there's a few different ways to engage with this area. The agenda is broken down by day, so you can toggle through the days to see the different sessions. And it's also broken down by time slot. So you'll see here we have the 10 a.m. slot followed by various sessions underneath it. At the top, we also have a session locator or a search bar. So you can use the session name, the location, which in our case will be the session ID, as well as the speaker names to locate any sessions that you're interested in. We also have tracks. So we'll have our different TIGs and co-sponsors, as well as poster sessions that will be able to be filtered for if you're looking for a specific session and you're not able to find it just scrolling through. So as I mentioned, I'm going to walk us through the 10 to 11:45 a.m. session. The first thing you can see is the poster sessions. So we have a variety of tourism, student, and non-student posters. And so that is going to look like this session right up here up top. For the purposes of our presentation, I just have one slot showing, but each presenter of each poster is actually going to have their own slot. So Rita Booins up here is going to have her she's going to have her own session slot, as are all of the rest of the session posters. Clicking into the poster area or viewing the session, you'll note that there's really no content in Hoover. The reason for that is because of gigabyte storage limits. We have decided to put all of our posters on an Adobe Portfolio website. So within each poster presenter's session area, you're going to have a dedicated link that takes you specifically to their poster. Now, real quick, I'm going to show you what the poster website looks like. Oops, sorry, let me get back to the home page here. So this is the Adobe Portfolio website that posters will be hosted on. So as you can see, once you're on the Portfolio website, you'll be able to toggle through different posters. And back in Hoover, each poster session will have their own area where they have their own chat and Q&A, so members can engage with each poster presenter one-on-one. So the posters are going to look very much like this. There's going to be sort of a square space where you can toggle over to see the presenter name and the title of their poster. When you click into that poster, there will be two options. The first will be a 3 to 5 minute poster presentation video. If poster presenters wish to create that, they are able to do so. Again, we'll see the name and the title of the poster presentation, as well as a little descriptor. And down below, we'll see the poster. For this example, it's my defense announcement, but you get the idea. The poster will be listed here. And so again, members will be able to toggle through the different tabs, student, non-student posters, and tourism posters. Back into Hoover, if we head back to the agenda, I wanted to also point out the ability to add things to individual agendas. So if there's a poster session or a pre-recorded session you want to add to your agenda, Hoover will allow you to sync the agenda with a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar. If you don't want to sync, basically I just wanted to show you under my agenda, you'll now see that session populate. So as you're going through sessions, you can build out your own agenda. It'll make it a little easier for you to engage in the sessions that you want to engage in. So next I'm going to cover our pre-recorded sessions, what those are going to look like. So as I scroll down the program here, you'll notice in the Monday 10 to 11:45 a.m. slot, you'll note that the pre-recorded sessions are identified by the parentheses, pre-recorded or on demand. So we have one session here, videos. We have our live channels, which I'm going to scroll past for the moment. And then we have 3 more pre-recorded sessions. We have intersectional approaches to disability, when different worlds meet, and reaching target populations in health education. So as you'll see, as I toggle back to the Hoover window, we have our videos. You'll see here it's a pre-recorded presentation. going to skip past our channels. And we have the final 3 pre-recorded presentations. You'll see here the session for SDS is marked as such. Same for the session that's sponsored by Risk and Disaster TIG. So clicking into one of these sessions, you'll see automatically the pre-recorded presentation is loaded. And so here I have an example of a Zoom session I recorded. As Rebecca Eli mentioned, this is sort of what we're recommending for pre-recorded presentations. Zoom offers a really great feature to share your screen, share your presentation materials, at the same time being visible in the corner. So that sort of gives you the idea of what these sessions will look like. Towards the bottom, we find some more session information. So you'll be able to see the speakers associated with each session. They'll have their own profiles. And so as you engage with the session, engage with the presenters, you can see which sessions they're presenting out, what their affiliations are, any other information they wish to share. At the bottom here, we have handouts. So if you wish to provide a transcript, an outline of your presentation, any PowerPoint slides, those would be listed down here for members to follow along, make the meeting a little bit more accessible for our attendees. On the right here, you'll see that there's the Q&A as well as a live chat. These are asynchronous discussions that go on. And even though the pre-recorded presentation is given a slot on Monday from 10 to 11:45, attendees will have the ability to access it at any point. So as soon as we make the meeting available, which will probably be a week or 2 before the actual event, members will be able to come in, engage with this material, submit questions, engage in chat, as well as after the slot. So after 10 to 11:45, say someone comes in on Tuesday or Wednesday, they can come in and engage with this area. A great tool for presenters is going to be the ability to utilize notifications. And so presenters can actually turn on email notifications for question and answer and chat. So instead of having to watch your session like a hawk for the duration of the meeting and possibly after, you can actually get notifications to know when attendees are engaging in your session. Makes it a little bit easier for you to know when to respond and engage back. There's also the ability to create polls. This is both for live sessions and pre-recorded sessions. If that's a tool that presenters would like to enable, they have the ability to do so. Let's see, I think that's everything for our pre-recorded sessions. So without further ado, I'm going to head to our live channels. So as you can see on the program, we have 5 channels dedicated for live sessions. These are denoted by the parentheses live/simulcast. And again, we have 5 channels. So channel 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And those are at each of the session times throughout the day. So we have a 10 a.m. slot, a 12 p.m., 12, 2, 4, and 6. At each of those slots, we'll have 5 live presentations. So in a day, we have 25 live presentations. For our entire conference, we have, I think, 131 total live presentations. That was something that was really important to us in our meeting, coming to an online format, integrating as much live content as we could, and doing so safely and in a way that would hopefully cause few tech issues. So as you'll see here on the Hoover schedule, we have our channels. Again, channel 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you'll see here that they're denoted as live stream. So immediately before you even click into the session, you can get a little bit of an understanding of what type of session it is. The channel should be a giveaway, if not the live stream underneath. And so let's take a look at one of these sessions. So as you'll see, the Zoom window will appear here in the left corner. Because it's not March 22nd yet, no Zoom window or Zoom stream has started. But if the Zoom stream has started, there's going to be a button right here that says proceed. When you click that proceed button, it will basically open up that Zoom webinar for you right in this window. So right here where we have this white notice is where you'll actually see the Zoom content. You don't need to have a Zoom account. You don't need to have Zoom window open. If you'd like to, you can, but the Zoom stream will essentially open in Hoover. And at the same time, you can engage in the Q&A and chat to the right of that window. Towards the bottom, we have the same information you would in a pre-recorded session. You can see the speakers and their profiles, and you can also engage with any handouts, PowerPoints, transcripts, things like that. one note about the live sessions. We have decided to go for the majority of live sessions with the webinar format. So it's going to be very similar to what we're doing right now. The presenters and the panelists will be visible and able to share their screen and audio. The attendees will be muted and no audio video. We chose to do this for two reasons. The first is tech. The tech capacity increases a little bit when you don't have so many competing videos and audio streams, but also security. That was our main concern with the meeting, as we've all had some experiences in the past year with Zoom bombing, other inappropriate disturbances. We really wanted to ensure a safe and secure meeting space. So the webinar will really run like a presentation. There's not going to be a ton of back and forth between attendees and presenters, which is why we created the following meetups. So I'm going to review the agenda. Sorry, let me click out of this. The agenda. So we have our live stream presentations that go from 10 to 11:45. Those, again, are just going to be the webinars, really like a presentation format. After 11:45, each of these live stream channels can head over to our community area where they can access a live channel meetup. So I'm going to walk you through the meetups real quick. This is going to be a session which is very similar to a Zoom meeting where members can engage in live discussion. Presenters can answer any questions, touch on things that people have mentioned in the chat, network, things like that. So briefly, I'll show you what this looks like. Let's see. So you don't need to install anything. You'll just go ahead and submit your name and select to join meeting. Oh, you can see my green screen behind. So this is what it'll look like. I'm currently sort of in a Zoom meeting. As other members attend, we can have a live back and forth, which is much more similar to a Zoom meeting. And this will be the only drawback to the meetups in Hoover is that there is a 30-person limit. So the presenters will be submitted, and then up to 30 people in attendees can come and join this live discussion. So we realize it's not perfect, but it is a solution in terms of keeping the meeting secure and allowing members to have this live discussion back and forth. Back to the community area. You'll note we have channel meetups here only for the live sessions. However, if you have a pre-recorded or a poster presentation and you would like to have some live discussion, you have the ability to create that in Hoover. By simply selecting Suggest a Meet, you can actually create your own virtual meetup. The only thing is you would need to connect your own Zoom account. So this can be used for pre-recorded or poster discussions. It can also be used for happy hours, catching up with a friend on a one-on-one basis, or opening up a discussion, a topical discussion for others to engage in. The one thing to note is we will not be providing moderators for any of these meetups if they're on presenters or attendees' personal Zoom accounts. We will have moderators for the webinars and the meetups that we are sponsoring. But it's a great way to incorporate some live discussion into the meeting. You can advertise for this within your own session. Under the chat, you can sort of create an announcement. The Hoover system also allows us to create announcements. So if you'd like us to sort of say, hey, I'm going to have this discussion at such and such a time, you can work with us to create that announcement in the system. The other point I wanted to mention in the community area is the asynchronous chats. And so here we have a few chats already begun. Ask organizers anything. If the organizers have any announcements, we can go ahead and place those here. So very similar to creating a meetup, a virtual meetup, you can add a topic or social group. So if there's a cohort of students that want to catch up and just have a group chat, they can do so here. Again, there can be, topics. So the business TIG could create their own session topic, things like that. So it's very open to attendee and presenter modification and customization. The last thing I wanted to mention with the live webinars. So the live webinars, as we mentioned, have somewhat reduced back and forth between attendees and presenters. One of the ways we're going to try to combat that is by including a question and answer back and forth within Zoom. And so the moderators will be trained to help assist session chairs and presenters in facilitating some back and forth communication within the Zoom webinars so that members don't have to miss out if the meetup becomes full at that 30-person capacity. It won't be as live of a back back and forth as the meetup, but it will allow some engagement between attendees and presenters. And we'll detail that a little bit more in the live stream presenter training as well as the moderator training. Let's see, the last area I'll mention real quick is just the attendee area. This is where you can create your attendee profile and network with others. As you create your Hoover profile, and again, we'll provide some training for onboarding, you can either choose to be in this area or not. So if you'd like to network and have your profile visible, you have the ability to do so. You can also opt out. And so we'll just go ahead and look at my profile. Here we see, my title, my affiliation, which presentations I'm speaking at, a short bio, which is incomplete, and then affiliations at the bottom. So a great way to network. There's also an area for speakers, and that just identifies speakers instead of attendees. However, with our meeting, we have a lot of overlap between speakers and attendees. So as Rebecca Eli mentioned, we will be providing some specific training on pre-recording presentations, how to get those submitted, best practices, and the same thing for live stream training, making sure you have full understanding of the sort of customizations that you can create with your own presentation and the type of content that you'd like to create. And importantly, we're going to be providing some written guides as well as some one-on-one office hours. So if you're having any issues creating your presentation, or you want to understand more of the functionality of Hoover, we're happy to answer those questions one-on-one. We want to make sure you all feel very supported and excited about our meeting, because we are very excited to put it on. So with all of that said, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks, Kira. So you've heard a bit about our training plan and seen what Hoover will look like, and maybe hopefully gotten an idea of the general format for sessions. And so you've also heard us talk a little bit about moderators, and that we're going to be relying on a team of people as well as all of you to help us create a good conference experience. So from here, let's move into Q&As. We've definitely got some questions, so I'm going to ask Jeremy to take the lead in moderating, as well as any of the members of the meeting working group who would like to step in and answer questions.
Thanks, Rebecca Eli, and thank you, Kira, for the great presentation. So I'm just going to kind of go through the questions from the top to the bottom. If something's already been answered, I won't address that. If you'd like to see the questions that have already been answered, you can click on the answered tab in the Q&A sidebar thing. So I'll just go again from top to bottom and pose the questions out to the group or to specific people as I can. So the first one that we have up there, and I think I've seen this further down as well, is what disability provisions are part of the framework for the meetings. And I think Rebecca Eli has done a lot of work on that. So I'm just gonna turn that over to her, to them, if that's possible.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit and then about what we've been working on so far and where we're at with our accessibility planning. So we've been putting together some guidance for presenters on ways to create their presentations more accessibly, and we are going to be including and collaborating with the AAA's accessibility coordinator, Nell. She's going to be coming to our live stream training presentations to help live streamed participants prepare. And for pre-recorded sessions, some of the things that we can do to make this content more accessible is we're hoping that we can get content either captioned or transcribed before we upload it into Hoover, and that we're hoping that in many cases presenters can help and take advantage of some of the AI-based transcription software to at least do a first pass. The software is not perfect. There's plenty of mistakes, but it can at least take some of the heavy lifting out of kind of the captioning and transcription process. Sherry, would you like to say more about our accessibility planning, since we've been in a lot of discussions about this lately?
Yeah, hi everybody. I would just say that we're giving a lot of thought to these issues. The idea is to make the meeting as accessible as possible. And as Rebecca Eli said, we're sort of exploring the possibilities both with Zoom and Hoover and the interaction, and we're kind of doing the best we can. You can see we had a technology glitch even tonight with our accessibility, but part of the benefit of running these sessions twice and recording everything is that we are able to regroup and have things like captioning available when you need it. So we'll be continuing to work on this. I think we're doing a couple of things. We're using the systems in place that we already know are there. We're in conversation as folks are writing to us, contacting us in other ways. So it's really good if you raise questions now, because that gives us a chance to think things through and make a plan for it. So we're actively in that process now, and there will be more support and more training in the materials so that all the members can start doing some of the best practices of accessibility, like providing visual description of themselves when they start, and having transcripts, and just making sure our meeting is moving in the right direction to maximal accessibility. We will be answering specific things all the way along the line. Thank you.
Thank you both. So next up, we have a question about the professional surveys the SFAA has sent out. That might be something that they could follow up with maybe Melissa or Trish in an email. Does that sound appropriate? So to the person who asked that question, I would suggest reaching out to Melissa or Trish via email and asking about that.
You can send that email to info@appliedinthro.org.
Thank you. Yeah. So then the next question is about the responsibilities of the program chair in terms of ensuring that folks submit their pre-recorded set presentations on time. Is that a responsibility of the program chair? Is that something that you guys will do?
Kira and Rebecca Eli, I'm assuming this is all going to be covered in the pre-recorded training webinars.
Yes, so
All of the pre-recorded questions, probably, because I noticed there are several of them in the Q&A. These will all be answered in the pre-recorded seminars that we do for instructions.
yeah, I mean, I can go ahead and answer that question now, since it's a good one and will help people prepare, which, yes, we are asking the session chair to collect videos from the participants and then be kind of the point person for getting those to SFAA. And we'll be providing contact information and email addresses to facilitate that communication.
So I think that answered the next question that we had, which was about would you be able to provide contact information? So thank you, Rec Eli, for that. The next question is also about pre-recorded sessions. So if there are 3 pre-recorded sessions, will there be live Q&A follow-ups for those sessions?
I can answer that question. I'm sorry, my screen is still doing something weird. The pre-recorded presentations don't have a dedicated live discussion session. However, in the Meetup area, if the presenters wish, they can create their own live discussions by using their Zoom account and sort of advertising it within their session. So it's not something that we have specifically created time for, but there is time in the program to do so.
Can you reiterate what the dates are for the pre-recorded session instructional webinars?
Yes, so the pre-recorded sessions are going to be on Monday, February 1st at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Thursday, February 4th at 6 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to be reviewing how to create your poster and poster videos, how to create pre-recorded presentations, best practices, as well as how to submit that. And then we'll be providing written guides. And again, the trainings will be recorded. So if you can't make them, they'll be accessible on the website, as well as our office hours for one-on-one assistance.
Great, thank you. So the next question asks, are we able to share recorded presentations outside of the SFA meeting? Was it during the first 90 days or after? Is there an option to share those videos outside of the meeting, I guess?
No, so there is no way to share the pre-recorded materials or the live streams, which end up becoming recorded into Hoover. No way to download those materials. The materials that are able to be downloaded will be any additional handouts, PowerPoint slides, things of that nature to supplement the presentation. So we do recommend putting a watermark or a copyright notice if you do wish to provide those materials.
And then the next question, I think, is in reference to the ability to communicate and to share contact information. So will that apply to poster sessions as well? I think the answer is yes, but does anyone want to confirm that?
Yes, so the poster presentations will be housed on the Adobe Portfolio website, but if the poster presenters would like to submit additional material, it would be listed within Hoover under their session title.
Thank you. Next, is there a size limit for the PowerPoints used during presentations? I think like a file size limit.
There is a file size limit for the videos. I'd have to pull it up again, but we will be reviewing that in our pre-recorded presenter training.
So the next question, when you record the sessions, will you be using Zoom and sharing the screen and then record your video in the upper right? Also, do PowerPoints require alt text?
I can answer that. Yeah, so we recommend for pre-recorded sessions using Zoom to record. It's just really easy to share your screen, share your materials, and have that thumbnail. PowerPoints requiring alt text, is that for images?
Yes, I would believe that's referring to image descriptions, and we're going to share some materials so that presenters will know how to create that most effectively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So then there's another question. I think this has also already been answered, but maybe we can get confirmation. If session is pre-recorded, are they still given a day and time? And I think that was the case. Is there a reason for that, Kira?
Yes. So the pre-recorded sessions are given a day and time to match the program. We have a lot of members who are familiar with the written program, the PDF file. And so to match that, we have them at that specific session time. However, members can access those presentations before and after that session time. So even though it's given a specific slot, there's really no limit to when you can access that.
Okay, so then I think another question about the specifics of the accessibility. So will there be an automatic transcript service available, or will the presenters be asked to provide that? Sherry, Rebecca, Eli?
Yeah, I guess I'd say sort of a combination of the two. We are asking presenters to provide a transcript, and a lot of the transcript can be automatically generated. We are asking that if you're automatically generating your transcript, you read it through, correct it, make sure that it's coming across clearly. If you're saying something and your transcript says something else, try to reconcile that so that people who are relying on the transcript to get information will be able to understand what you're trying to communicate.
Thank you. The next question asks about if the presenters need to share a PowerPoint presentation, the PowerPoint itself, if they're also Zooming and presenting the PowerPoint via Zoom. Kira, do you know the answer to that one?
I don't think it's necessary to also attach the PowerPoint. It's just for additional accessibility. So if you'd like to share that PowerPoint, we'll certainly put it and attach it with your session, but it's by no means required.
All right, and so next up is a question about whether we can sync live sessions and pre-recorded sessions. So how do those two things interact? Kira, it's probably another question for you.
So it is, due to tech reasons, it's either one or the other. Either it's a pre-recorded session or a live session. We found a lot of issues with live sessions that try to incorporate pre-recorded videos. But again, all of the pre-recorded presentations do have the ability to create that live discussion if they'd like.
Thanks. And then the next question is also about pre-recorded sessions. Are we expecting audio files, or do we want video files too?
Oh, I would say we would prefer video files. The instructions we're going to provide for pre-recorded sessions are, the main way is the Zoom recording. We also have instructions for PowerPoint recording, which would not be it would be a visual of the PowerPoint, not a visual of the presenter. So in that case, it's still a great, it downloads as a video file because you have the presentation materials, it being the PowerPoint. But again, it is nice to have that extra bit of visibility of the presenter and sort of putting the presenter with their presentation materials.
And then sort of I guess a kind of related question, is there a time limit for pre-recorded sessions?
We have all of the sessions at 105 minutes. I guess technically pre-recorded could go longer than that. But I would caution you, people are sitting at home and maybe the longer sessions wouldn't be as enticing.
And then for live panels, will presenters get a specific link when they log in, or will they get directed differently?
Yeah, so we're going to go over this in the live stream presenter training. Presenters will need to access Zoom separately from Hoover. That's for tech capacity. Zoom will run smoother if the presenters are accessing it from Zoom and not from Hoover. So I think a week or two before the meeting, we are going to distribute those Zoom links to presenters. You'll be able to access your session and coordinate with the moderator in your session to make sure everything runs smoothly.
Great. And then, sorry,
just
go
a
ahead.
quick question, or just a quick comment on that one, because there's another question further down. I believe in those there is set up for practice sessions. Am I correct on that, Kira?
You mean practicing webinars before?
Yes.
I still have to review that with Dylan, our customer service rep, how those function, but it could be a possibility.
Okay, and then another kind of tech question, can we present media in the Meetup sessions?
I don't believe so, but I would follow up with our customer service rep. So I've made note of that question and I will have an answer when we get back to our specific presentations.
Thanks. Melissa or Trish, do you want to answer? Does the food TIG still exist?
Melissa?
I think that culture and anthropology, CNA, have a lot of food security and security researchers, but there's not an actual food TIG. Covered by CA now.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the next question is about the interactions, I think, between the sessions and the meetups. So it says, because we have SIG and TIG sessions that are consecutive in many cases, the meetups might detract from those sessions. Can we eliminate or move them if presenters want?
Yes. So, and this is something I forgot to mention. The meetups are there if presenters want to use them, but they're by no means required. So in that instance, if there's back-to-back sessions, the meetup could be saved for that final, following that final part 2 presentation. Similarly, if sessions run a little bit early, they end early or they run a little bit late, those meetups have flexible hours. So session presenters and attendees can actually access those meetups a little bit early and a little bit late. We have some pretty flexible windows. So again, it's just part of the software that makes it nice to customize presentations. And that would be something I would recommend you use the chat boxes associated with your sessions to let attendees know when you plan to use the meetups or which meetups you plan to use.
Great, thank you. And maybe you can follow up on that, the next one, Kira, too, if there's a sort of re-explaining the 30-person maximum.
Yes. So the meetups have a 30-person maximum, and each of the live sessions has that meetup associated with it. So presenters will be entered into that meetup first, plus the moderator. So if you have 5 presenters and a moderator, unfortunately, only 24 attendees would be able to engage in that discussion, which is why we've sort of positioned the Zoom meetings that you can create, as well as there will be some different customizations that presenters can do within Zoom webinars to engage attendees. So yeah, it's slight drawback, but in order to ensure a secure meeting, we felt it was the best way to take.
Great, thanks again. And so another question about the accessibility, and this is specifically about the live streamed accessibility features. Do you want to cover that, Rebecca, Eli, or Sherry?
Yeah, I mean, I can take it. And the short answer is we're still working on figuring out exactly what can be worked into Hoover. If there's specific accessibility requests, please submit them to the SFA office, but we're also trying to get a level of accessibility across all of the conference content and figure out solutions that are workable and trying to do what we can.
Thank you for answering. I experienced a tech freeze right as the question happened. Thank you.
Thank you both. So the next is a set of, again, sort of tech questions. Maybe Kira, you can help with those again. So will there be chat allowed in the webinars? Will question and answer Q&A questions be visible to participants? And are there polls available during the live sessions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we are still working through some of the specifics to make sure we have as an accessible of a meeting as possible. Currently, our plan is to have chat disabled in webinars, but have question and answer enabled. So there is a little bit of back and forth between participants and attendees. The Q&A questions, if they're in the Zoom webinars, should be visible to participants, similar to the question and answer that's housed in Hoover. Those should be visible both to attendees and presenters when accessing the session. Polls are allowed during live sessions. Unfortunately, because Zoom is being facilitated into Hoover, if you're used to using the Zoom polls, they do not work. You would have to use the Hoover polls associated with the sessions. In most cases, that's not going to be an issue. Attendees will be viewing the Zoom session right next to the polls, so you can utilize that basically in real time. The one drawback is presenters will need to access their sessions from Zoom. So it's going to be a little bit of back and forth for presenters, which we'll discuss more in the live presenter training.
Great, thank you. So another one about disability provisions, this one specifically about if somebody has a revoicer to make their voice broadly understood, is this a possibility that we can incorporate into the meeting?
So I think the answer to that is it is useful for us to know if people will have a mechanism for people asking about specific things that they're looking for, like revoicing. So I think it's useful if we can get those requests as far as possible in advance, and then we'll see what we can do to work with specific presenters so that we can support as best as we can using the resources that we have. So for if people want to know about specific things like that, it's really useful if they write in and ask us or contact us in another way. Thank you.
And then I think this was the question that Trish mentioned earlier about the roundtable dry runs. Do we want to revisit that?
Yes, yeah, we should be able to do certain types of rehearsals. I just need to touch base with our customer service rep, make sure I understand the functionality. But the way I understand it, there is a rehearsal option for presenters who would like to have a dry run of their session.
Great. And then the next question is about live stream roundtables. Is it possible to have several small meetup rooms for small groups working on particular themes that emerge from those roundtable discussions?
I'm not 100% sure based on our Zoom plan. I think it would be possible, but it's going to have to be something we look into and seeing how that integrates with Hoover.
And can you maybe talk a little bit more about how Zoom works for recording videos? So this is a question about a type of MP4 video that shows the person, the presenter, and their slides. I think Zoom does a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, the example I had in Hoover was a presentation I had created for others members on the working group. And what I did basically was start my own Zoom meeting by myself, share my screen to my, well, what I was doing was actually showing a selection of screens, but in your case, you would share your presentation slides or your presentation materials, begin recording, and then go ahead and just give your presentation. When you stop recording or end the meeting, Zoom will download that presentation recording in an MP4 format. So that is the quickest and easiest way to get your video thumbnail along with your presentation materials. PowerPoint also offers an option to record audio over your presentation files, but does not allow for the video thumbnail.
Thank you. So the next question is about about the live streamed roundtables. They want to know if those will be held in the webinar format as well, and if that means that that they will only be able to interact with the audience through the Q&A the system.
Some of the open discussion sessions will be conducted via meeting. Correct me, Trisha, Melissa, if I'm wrong. So I believe roundtables are included in that.
That, yeah, we've roundtables and open discussions will not be in the webinar format if that is what the chair prefers. You can have them in the meeting format instead, so that there can be interaction with attendees.
Great, thank you. And then the next question is, when will moderators and chairs get access to Hoover?
Yes, great question. We are hoping to have the event go live at the beginning of March. So if all goes well, presenters and attendees will have access to Hoover about 2, maybe 3 weeks before the meeting, allowing them to set up their profiles, get familiar with how Hoover works. And then again, we'll be having those office hours. So if members need additional assistance getting familiar with the technology, or presenters have last minute questions before the meeting, we'll be there to take those one-on-one.
Great, thank you. So the next question asks if there will also be opportunities for translation in addition to transcription, if that's something that's available.
I don't know that we fully have an answer to that. We don't necessarily have resources on hand to provide that right now, but I guess it would be useful to know if there are members who are interested in supporting other members that way. We could potentially do some matching among folks.
Okay. And can someone just confirm that Zoom saves files as MP4s? Is that correct?
Yes, Zoom saves files as MP4s, and the uploading system we're going to use is secure Dropbox files for each presentation. So essentially, once you have that presentation recorded, it's as simple as clicking the Dropbox link we send you, uploading your presentation that way. If they need to be combined, if presentations were recorded separately, we'll combine them on our end. However, if it's possible, we would love for pre-recorded presentations to be recorded all together at once.
Great, thanks. And then the next question, has the deadline to submit poster presentations changed with the new format?
I don't recall what the initial date of submission was. We are requesting that all of the pre-recorded presentations and poster presentations be submitted at the end of February. And so we'll be giving those pre-recorded presentation trainings the first week of February, and we'll be sending out the links for your uploads approximately 2 weeks after that, middle week of February, which would give presenters about 2 weeks to get those materials into us after having that link.
Great, thank you. So then there's a question I think maybe relevant to this one. How can we see the live answers to questions? And the answer to that is that the live questions are the ones that we answer in the discussion. So there's not necessarily any text for those for you to see. So maybe there's a way we can respond to them by text if necessary, or you can re-ask a question if you missed the answer. And then there's a question about sharing materials after the conference. Can we share our own materials on personal websites after the conference is over? I'm not sure what we decided on that, or what the who best to answer that even.
I think that's an interesting thing that was raised. We can definitely talk about that as a group, especially if we see that people want to be able to do that. So why don't we just say we'll get back to folks on that, because obviously that's an issue we should consider and have a good answer for. So Michael, maybe we'll add that to things we need to discuss. Thank you for asking the question. It's important.
Okay, and then there's a question about the length of the pre-recorded sessions. Could somebody clarify that? I think it was mentioned earlier, but.
They should maintain a normal structure of a session format, which is 105 minutes. They can go over, they can go under just because they are on demand. There isn't a rigid structure for them, but just keep in mind, not too many people want to watch a video that's 3 hours long. So.
Thanks. The next question I have, Kira, maybe you can answer and talk a little bit about the relationship between Hoover and Zoom, specifically in regard to workshops. Will registrants be participating through Hoover or through a Zoom meeting?
So registrants will be accessing the Zoom meeting through Hoover. However, they can engage with that Zoom window in many of the same ways that they would a regular Zoom meeting. I will need to double check to make sure all of that functionality is the same. So I've added that to my list to check with our customer service rep.
Great, thanks. And then maybe you can follow up with this other question. Can meetups take place at any time, or are they specific time for meetups? And regarding the video sharing, since this person's team will have recorded Zoom in hand, would SFA be okay with us sharing the presentation through our own channels outside of SFA?
I can answer the first part of that. So if attendees or presenters want to create their own meetups, those can occur at any point. The channel meetups are going to be specifically for the live webinars, and they're going to be immediately following the presentation. So the 10 to 11:45 a.m. slot will have the 11:45 to 12:30 meetup, and so on and so forth. About 45 minutes following that live webinar, they have access to the channel meetup. But the rest of the meetups that people create can occur at any point. For the sharing presentations to their own channels, I don't know, Sherry or Trish, if you guys want to handle that.
I think this question is in the same lane as what we just put on our list to work through before. So we'll be back to you on it. It's an issue we'll figure out how that would work. So I'd rather give it a thoughtful answer. So stay posted.
Yeah, and there's a follow-up question right after that about sharing supplementary materials using open access and Creative Commons, and whether they can share pre-recorded sessions via other platforms like on YouTube or Vimeo or something like that. And as Sherry mentioned, I think that's a question that that we're still grappling with, and we will get back with you. So,
the joy of putting on a meeting in a new format is you figure out what to figure out. Thank you very much to the members.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so the next question, can we accommodate audio from a radio show during a live session?
I am not 100% sure.
Especially with copyright infringement, that may be something that we'll have to get back to you on. We are keeping a list of all of the questions and answers, and we'll get back to those that. So if you don't mind shooting us an email at info@appliedanthro.org, we can respond to your question and give you a accurate answer.
Great, thanks. Yeah, so the next question, how do we find out which session our pre-recorded presentations fall within? I think the agenda has been posted. Is that correct, Trish, Melissa?
Yes.
Okay.
The preliminary program is online, and it should have all, now if it's a pre-recorded session, it will be available on demand at any time, but if it's live stream, there is a date and time for those, as well as the track that it's in.
Okay, and will there be a live panel associated with each session?
When you say, oh, you mean a pre-recorded live panel? Or
I think the question might be whether there's like a Q&A associated with the pre-recorded sessions. Is that?
There is a synchronous Q&A attached to each session. So at all times there is a Q&A available for pre-recorded sessions. And there also is to answer another question from someone, there is a notice that you can set up when a presenter receives a question that it will alert you when a question comes in, so you don't have to monitor it constantly.
Okay. The next question is about
Jeremy, I think there was a question about moderators. When will we know who the moderator is?
Oh yeah, sorry, I missed that.
So I'll just answer that we're working with the TIGs and the co-sponsors, and we're hoping to have moderators identified by the end of February, with end of January, with training in February, and we will connect moderators with session chairs.
And there was a question I saw earlier about the role of moderators. So session chairs will still be in charge of the sessions, monitoring time, typical session chair duties. The moderators will really be there for tech support, making sure the meeting stays secure, handling the recording of the live session, and then helping presenters facilitate some of the back and forth with attendees if needed. They're there and they'll be prepared to help, but if the session chairs want to sort of take more control, that's fine. And as Michael said, we'll be doing introductions between presenters and moderators, I believe the first or second week of March, to give you time to understand how you want to work together to create your session.
Great, thanks. So the next question is about running and participating in TIG meetings and other meetings like that. How will those be accessed?
I believe some of those TIG meetings are going to be held in the community meetup area, but I think we're still working through what those are going to look like.
So the next one is, what will be the customizations to allow engaging participants? So more than just Q&A, are there upvoting options and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I believe we'll have like raise hand features, the upvoting of Q&A questions. If presenters would like to stay in the webinar while having this back and forth with attendees, the moderators will be able to unmute participants for specific questions. Yeah, so we're still working on a process for that, but those questions will be answered more in our live stream presentation training as well.
Great. Okay. Next question is the program chair. I guess this is another question about accessibility. Is the program chair responsible for checking the audience with the audience, whether there's some accessibility need?
Rebecca, maybe you want to answer that in more detail, but my understanding is that we will ask people about their accessibility needs to provide information on that. And if we know that beyond the transcription and the basic services that we're providing, if we know someone has a specific type of need, we'll ask them to be in communication with us so that we can work through for specific sessions if that's needed. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We're not asking each program chair to ask people to disclose any access needs in each individual session. But if someone does want to make an accessibility request, then we can make arrangements in advance and make sure we can offer resources ahead of time and make sure that's in place before the meeting begins. So program chairs don't get caught at the last minute, or no one gets caught in an awkward disclosure situation.
Great, thank you. There's a couple of people commenting or pointing out different options for transcription of videos. Is there a way of managing the files, the different kinds of transcription files? Is that something that will they have to send us a separate transcription file, or is that something that's integrated into the video?
I think we'll review that more in the pre-recorded presentation training, but there's options for both. I think we would recommend having a separate file, but we're working on a process and we'll have that ready for those pre-recorded presentation trainings.
Okay, the next question, can live presenters get a copy of their recording if we supply you with a signed release? So I'm not quite sure what that's asking about, but maybe after the conference, is that, will presenters have access to that?
Yeah, I mean, I can give the background for the question. It's going back to this issue of how presenters can use this material after the conference. And I think the answer Sherry provided earlier is that we're going to figure out some sort of plan and what can be done afterwards so that presenters can make the most use their material as possible.
That's right. We see that people are asking the question relative to being able to use materials for teaching. There could be other kinds of public engagement possibilities of why people want to be able to do that. So we'll work that through in our meetings and make some policy to help folks.
Great, thank you. The next question asks if presenters can allow non-attendees to join the meetup if they know who they are and would like to allow them to participate. Is that something we have the ability to allow?
Yeah, it's actually something we have the ability to absolutely not allow. Specifically for these meetup sessions, there's not going to be a link that could get shared outside of Hoover. And that's part of the security reasons. And we're asking all of the attendees to be really mindful about not sharing the link and to please keep the meeting secure and safe so we don't have any interruptions or unwanted activity.
Okay, great, thanks. The next one is about, again, about kind of mixing pre-recorded content with live content. They have presenters from West Coast, East, and Poland. So it's a wide time range there. Can they have one record a 10-minute piece to be inserted by SFAA and then arrange for that one to be in the meetup?
I think it is possible for within a session to upload a pre-recorded presentation along separate from a live presentation. So if one of the presenters is unable to make the live session, I think we can loop in a pre-recorded portion in that session. But I will double check with our customer service rep.
Okay, we got a few more minutes, so see how many more questions we can get through, but there's a follow-up question about the radio content. I think that's something we'll have to contact Trish and Melissa, and we'll get that worked out.
I believe this, he says he's just asking, or she's asking, I'm sorry, if the sound can be heard. If you're recording it through Zoom, I'm not sure. Can you play an audio? I'm asking you all, can you play an audio and hear it on Zoom? I've not been on, no, so no.
Yeah. Participants, if someone's presenting live over Zoom, they'll be able to share audio from their computer.
Okay.
Great, thanks. And then maybe one more question. To pre-record, you suggest we start our own Zoom meeting. Does that mean setting up a paid Zoom account for a year? Kira?
I'm sorry, I was reading questions. Can you repeat that?
To pre-record, you suggest that we use our own Zoom meeting and then record and save it. Does that mean that each of us has to set up a paid Zoom account for a year?
Oh, no, on free accounts, they allow up to 45 minutes of recording. So you would not need to do that as long as your presentation is less than 45 minutes. If an individual presentation is more, or a group presentation is more than 45 minutes, we can work through maybe providing an SFAA link or something similar. We'll have to circle back around on that.
Sorry, my voice was muted earlier. I was trying to respond, but it didn't come through. We have a few more comments in there. We're close to running out of time, but are there any other questions?
I think we can download the rest of the questions and respond on an individual basis, if that's cool, and we can.
Yeah, because I think we are out of time.
Yeah, some of them are comments, and but if we haven't answered your question, please email us or join us for our next session on Monday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Well, we've had 106 answered questions and a handful of still open questions / comments. So I think that's great. I really want to thank Kira, Rebecca, Eli, Jeremy, great job moderating, everyone who, Trish and Sherry, for answering questions, and others. I hope it's been very helpful to our participants, to our members. You'll be seeing lots of announcements about the upcoming workshops. There's ways to get in touch with us. There'll be one-on-one training. These questions are really helpful to us in that we can fine tune and helps us identify areas to work on. So if there are no other from the working group, if they have any other final comments or anyone want to make any final points?
Yeah, just thank you everyone for your feedback and questions. As Michael said, it really helps us think, critically about the meeting we're putting on and how we can make it meet the needs of our members and make it safe and enjoyable. So thank you very much.
Yep. I saw Trish, did you? No, okay. These are very helpful again, and we're really hopeful that the meeting will, the way we've developed it, will help you all have a very, very successful meeting and accomplish what you want to do in your sessions and roundtables, pre-recorded, live, etc., and give you lots of opportunities to meet up. So again, thank you for participating tonight. Keep working with us on this, and hopefully we'll see you on another training webinar in the next few weeks. So without any ado, have a nice evening, wherever you are.